Yo, comrades, what's up? We're here to talk about my favorite squad, Dazzling Pearl. But first, we're going to finish up Inherent with Isabel. So, what is Isabel's Bond story? So, this takes place after the previous story. I feel like mostly because in the previous story, we learn that Isabel is super horny for the commander. And as she's super horny, we start the her Bond story with waking up. And we're under the care of Isabel. We find out that she changed us and took care of us because we got shot in the leg. And then she came and rescued us and brought us to her little love nest here. And she's taking care of us and super excited. So she makes us some food and it's super delicious. And she talks about how now we can spend all our time together while she helps us. And that she talks about how she knows when we saw each other, it was love at first sight and all this stuff. And so she's going to make sure we recover. And also, if we wanted to leave, we can throw that idea right out the window because she's not going to let us leave. Ever. So a couple days go by. it's like what's that fucking movie by or book by Stephen King? It's like that. So a couple days go by. She's making us lunch. We demand that we help her, and she's so teehee. So we help her, and we teach her how to cook a little bit better the way we like. And she's so excited because now we're husband and wife, and she's getting super turned on about all this stuff. And that she talks about how she always wanted to be married and have a family, and now she's finally going to have part of what she wants. So we're okay, sure, why not? We're here. She's recovering us and taking care of us, so we can pretend like we're married. That's not a big deal, right? It's not a super big deal, is it? Anyway, she's super ecstatic about all this. And then she talks about how she wants to consummate the marriage, but she doesn't have any experience with sex. And she's nervous right now. So we kiss, but then she's maybe later, teehee. So later on, before we have the sexy time, it's time for us to relax and watch a movie. So we let Isabel pick a romantic comedy, because obviously. And then during the movie, we start making out and feeling each other up and whatnot. And then she talks about fucking, but she wants to take a bath first. So we're sure, okie dokie, we'll just wait around here. So while we're sitting around just kind of waiting, we hear a signal flare go off. And we're oh, that must be the counters. So then we kind of stumble over to the front door, and we find out that it's locked from the inside. And so we try to open it, and we got to guess some codes, and we finally figure out that it's our birthday. So we do that, and then we're about to walk out, and then Isabel comes out, and she slams the door and is oh, let me go look for the counters. You got to stay here. You're injured, and I want you to be safe. So then she sends us off back to the bedroom, and she heads out. And then we come back out to see if we can open the door, and she's obviously changed the code, so we can't get out this way. And we're okay, well, we promised, so we'll just hang out here and wait. So we hear some more gunfire and whatnot, and then we start to get super concerned. And so we go back and try the code again, and this time we figure that it's an 8-digit code instead, which is our commander ID number instead of our birthday, and so that works. So then we get outside, and we see the counters are there, and they're fighting with Isabel, of course, because Isabel's trying to keep us locked up because she's crazy. So then we stumble forward, and we're trying to get Isabel to leave the counters alone. And so we figured the only way we were going to do it is be a call out to her. So we call out to her, and she hears us, and she freaks out, and she comes down. And then we get into an argument about us not listening to her and how mad she is and whatnot. And then she gets upset because we have feelings for the counters, and then we have feelings for other Nikkes just generally. And she feels super betrayed by this because we're husband and wife. And we're yo, bitch, that was just pretend and stuff. Anyway, so she's whatever, I got to teach you a valuable lesson about being in love. And so she ties us up, takes us back to her little love nest, which cool. And then she drugs us real good. And so we start getting visions and stuff, and we hear noises and whatnot. And then we think we see the counters breaking in to rescue us, and then fighting with Isabel and whatnot. And then some time goes by, it seems, and we wake up and we're in our room, and all the counters are laying on top of us, or not directly on top of us. That would kill us because they're machines. But we learned that they came and they rescued us from Isabel and brought us back, and that we were she drugged us up real good because we were passed out for days. And then they're all right, well, you're kind of stinky because you've been passed out for days, so maybe you should clean up. So we start taking a shower, and we have a PTSD moment because we hear some noises out in our room, and we're freak out because it's Isabel there to kidnap us again. I never know. So even though we've escaped her physically, the shadow of her presence ever looms over our consciousness. It's damn, it's real dark shit, man. And so we head out, and we find brand new clothes where there were dirty clothes before, and we're that's nice. And then a note, and guess what? The note is from Isabel, of course. And she's ooh, something about my love, my eternal love. You're here for now, but someday you'll come back to me. Tee hee hee. And we're fuck. The end. All right, so Dazzling Pearl. So the event is called Arrow of Love or something. fuck. What is it called? Dazzling Pearl's the squad. It's Naga and Tia, two of my favorite Nikkes, two of the best waifus that ever existed, period. Naga being the top, at least in Nikke Goddess Victory. She's the best. I love her so much. Anyway, I don't remember. Anyway, Tia and Naga are grad students at MMR. So as you previously remember from like the last event, I want to say, when we focused on Ray, Zui, and Ein, they were like undergrad students or something. Anyway, so we're substituting at the MMR graduate school, but we're running late. So we race on over and then we smash into Tia's giant tits. And she's super excited. She gives us a big old squeeze. And we think about Tia and how sweet she is and how nice she is, how she loves desserts, how she's forgetful and kind of ditzy, but that she is really smart and really good at her job. And then at that point, Naga rolls up and we think about her and how mature she is and how she's focused and takes things so seriously, but also that she loves shopping and has like a kind side and that she treats Tia kind of like a younger sister in that she takes care of her and makes sure that everything's going to be okay. Especially because Tia is always forgetting things. So then we headed to class, and afterwards, Tia and Naga both grab our arms and like, shopping, let's go hang out, teacher. And we're like, yeah, sounds good. So we get there, and we find out there's this crazy event where there's this, you can buy stuff at the store, and then you get raffle tickets that'll let you get Cupid's arrow, and Cupid's arrow, whoever has Cupid's arrow, if they touch the tip to somebody, that person will instantly fall in love with them, right? Which is kind of like nonsensical bullshit, but these are like teenage girls essentially, or like just over teenage girls, and so they're like super hyped about the whole situation, like we got to do it. And so the Naga comes up with an idea where we can all split up between the three of us, and we can buy a bunch of like small things, and that way one of us will win the arrow. So we do that, but we don't know what to buy. We're not really a shopping guy, and we're just like kind of confused. And then we run into Blanc and Noir, hey, and we kind of explain to them the whole situation, and they love it. They love, and they love the whole, their whole gambling thing that they like coin rush and whatnot. And so Noir like grabs out a bunch of like expensive stuff from her bag and is like, here's a bunch of tiny little stuff we're gonna use in our act, but you can have it, Pit Boss, so that you can we'll get a bunch of raffle tickets. So we thank them and we hold their hands, and they get so giddy about it that they do their little bunny luck thing so that we can have the best luck and that we can win. And we're like, hooray. So then they take off and we buy all this stuff, and then we wait for the raffle to start, and we got like 5 or 6 tickets or whatever. So the number gets called off, and we lose. Oh no. At that point, we're kind of despondent about, or not despondent, that's a harsh word. We're kind of sad about the whole situation, but it's okay. Tia and Naga finally like roll up and find us, and we're all talking and like talking, and it's okay. But then we start to hear that the number they announced, no one's claiming it, so something's wrong there. So they're like, oh, we messed up, it's upside down. If you can probably guess what number it is. It's a 2-digit number, I'll give you a hint. So fucking delightful. So then they call the actual number, which is the previous number upside down, and it's, oh hey, we did win, awesome. So then we go up, we do the thing, Tia and Naga are with us, and at some point we just like pass out, and we wake up like outside of the mall, and Tia and Naga are there with us, and they're like, oh teacher, are you okay? And we're like, yeah, we're good, I don't know what happened. But we have the arrow, and it's like, who are we gonna use it on? And we look at Naga, and obviously I'm gonna pick Naga, motherfuckers, duh. But then we see Tia, and she looks a little sad because she knows she's not gonna lose out. And we're like, well, let's wait until after I finish my substitute teaching for the week, and then I'll make a decision. They're like, okay, it's a competition. And then they get like real competitive about it. It's just pretty fucking hot. And so the next morning, Naga comes in and drops off a backpack, and she's like, because Tia and I are in competition, here's all the shit I have to bring to school every day that she forgets. So now it's your problem. And then she leaves, and then Tia comes and sees the backpack and takes it, and she's upset. And she's like, I don't need Naga's help in beating her, so I'm going to take care of myself. You don't have to do anything. And we're like, okie dokie. Because she wants to win the competition like fair and square and do all her stuff. So then we see the girls starting like really to amp up the pressure against each other and against themselves, and Naga invites us to give her a private lesson. And at some point during the private lesson, she mentions that we find her just kind of like staring off in the distance, like, you okay? And she's like, yeah, I don't know, it's just I miss spending all the time with Tia, but whatever. So we do this special private lesson. Get your head out of the gutters, we're just giving her a fucking private lesson. Yeah, you perverts. We run into her again later, and then she confesses to us that she's like super jealous and super concerned about anyone else getting the arrow, not just Tia, but like anybody else. And then we mention how alluring she is, and she goes like, tee hee hee. And then we go shopping with her to her favorite store because they're having a sale. A few days later, Naga drops off some dessert, and she's like, hey, make sure Tia gets this. I haven't been able to give it to her because we're competing. And then she leaves. And then Tia shows up, and she's like, oh, hey, is that for me? And we're like, yep, Naga brought it. And she's like, oh, I miss Naga. How's she doing? And they both kind of ask about the other person. They both kind of seem sad that they're not spending as much time together. So we decided to go on like a 3-person date. So we invite both of them to meet us at this place by the mall, and then we're going to go hang out at this like pop-up area. So we go on this little date. There's like a whole thing. This whole event has a lot of choices. You choose. It's a lot of choices between Naga and Tia. And since it's a gotcha game and not a real visual novel, the choices don't matter so much. Like in each individual section where you get choices, it'll change some of the dialogue, but you can choose Tia or Naga as part of like the final choice, no matter how much. Like if I spend my whole time with Naga, and then I choose Tia, I can choose Tia at the very end, and there's no carry through with the whole thing. So it's, it is what it is. But it's nice that you can like make the choices, and I think it's fun. Anyway, we get to the end, and there's like a famous pastry chef, and Naga gets us cookie and feeds us, and Tia gets super jealous about the whole thing because, again, I'm choosing Naga, but you can choose Tia, and it's like vice versa. Then there's a game where they shoot balloons to win like this stuffed bear, and they both get like super competitive about it, and then because I know I've said competitive like 500 times, but then they both shoot like all the balloons between the two of them, and they tie, and then they're like, who are you gonna give the stuffy to? And I'm like, I'm gonna keep it. It's mine. Because we're tired of making decisions. The next day, we're at class talking about to the girls about stuff, and then Naga mentions that we would do extra lessons with her. And then Tia's like, I want in too. And so we help them out, and they get all the answers correct. And then it's dessert time, so we hit up a restaurant, and then Tia orders like everything, and then she starts taking pictures of everything for like Instagram or blah, 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 or whatever it is in this world. And so Naga and I watch like a couple movies while we wait, and then we eat, and we all stuff ourselves like pretty well. And then we take some time and think about who we want to give the arrow to. And that we think about how we're going to miss having both of them holding on our arms and spending time with both of them all this time. So the next day is the final day, and it's like after class, our final class, we're like resting. And the girls come up and they want to wake us up because they want an answer, but then Naga talks Tia out of it and is like, we should just have him choose. We got to force him to choose because, the commander doesn't like to be mean to anybody or whatever. So then we get a text from both of them, and Naga's like, I'm waiting in the classroom, and Tia's like, I'm waiting at like the maid cafe or a restaurant for you. You get to choose. And so we get to the final part and we get to choose. So this is you pick Naga or Tia, and you unlock like a different thing, but then you can just go back and do it again, but however you want to do it. So I pick Naga first, obviously, because Naga's my queen. And she's my favorite Nikke, period. The end. Not that Tia is also excellent, but Naga's the best. So we find Naga in the classroom. She's like looking off, and we hug her and we hold each other and we do the little touch, and it's super cute and whatnot. And then elsewhere, Tia's in the restaurant like crying, which is extremely sad. So afterwards, you get the same thing where you just reflect on the choice you made and the consequences and stuff like that. If you choose Tia, you meet her at the restaurant. We get a nice little shot of her giant tits on a table while she's feeding us, which is excellent. And then Naga is like just thinking about how like, oh, that's fine. I mean, it hurts more than I thought it would, but I'm glad Tia's happy. Oh, it's just also sad. Either way, you get to the epilogue, and the epilogue is that the two girls finally make up, and they decide they're going to be best friends forever, and that they need to stop fighting over a boy, and no matter what happens, they're going to be together and help each other out and be friends, which is super sweet. And that ends whatever the fuck this is called. I can't believe I don't know what this is called. But they're events. So now let's get to their Bond stories. So it's Dazziling Cupid. I looked it up in between recording these sections. So that's the name of the event for Dazzling Pearl and whatnot. But so Naga's Bond story. Naga's having a great day. Usual stuff. She's taking care of Tia, doing well in class, having a good time. They have a dessert. They give the commander hugs, all that stuff. So it's going great. The next day is a bad day. As class ends, Marikana tells them that there are exams coming up, and Naga always kind of gets out of sorts with exams. So Tia has to like help her from like stumbling around. She takes her shopping, but instead of shopping, they end up over at the outpost. And then Tia's like, "Hey, can you take care of Naga? She always has a problem with exams. You alone can probably help." And so then she leaves, and then Naga's like, I'm fine. And she tries to like stand up, but then she's like wobbling. And then we're like, hey, you got your shoes on the wrong feet. And she's like, ugh. So she collapses. We sit down next to her and like, rub her head while she like recalls like her life as a student. So when she began as a new student, she was like very full of joy and optimism. And she made like two best friends forever. And she like they would always talk about what they wanted to do when they graduated, and she wanted to be a teacher and was like so happy. And she met Tia at this time, but Tia was just like another girl in her grade, so they weren't really close or anything. Anyway, so exam time comes around for like these new students, and the exam, as we've learned with School of Rock, or School of Lock, is that they have to go fight raptures and whatnot, and if they die, they die. So she goes up, and then both her friends get like killed, her like best friends forever, and then she like breaks her leg or something, so she almost dies, but then she ends up surviving. But this left like a very lasting mark on her, like some PTSD stuff. So then a couple years go by, and she's always very nervous about exams and getting close to people. And because of like the stuff that happened, instead of being so carefree, she just like dedicates every ounce of her existence to like training, becoming better, becoming a better shot, becoming so fucking awesome. And she makes some new friends, and we find out at some point that like out of the 42 students in her original class, only 18 survived. Damn. So anyway, so they introduce her to Tia again, who's been around, because they're like, man, no one works as hard as you besides Tia. And she's like, Tia? And she's like, yeah, she's like the #1 student in the class, like highest grades and everything, even though she's kind of a ditz. And so then Tia and Naga kind of start talking and stuff a little bit here, and they talk about the people who've died before. And how they both want to train because they never want to lose anybody ever again. And there's a lot of guilt for Naga. She's got a lot of PTSD for like her friends died and she survived a lot of survivor's guilt stuff. And then Tia talks about how like she understands the point of training and wanting to help people, but she doesn't understand why Naga is like holding so tightly onto the past. He needs to live for the present and the future and stuff. And so after that conversation, they don't talk again until the exams, where they get teamed up together along with Naga's other two friends. And so the four of them are able to the four of them are able to survive the exam and defeat all the raptures. No one dies. And Naga is super excited about the whole situation. But then her friends get like let off by some other teachers, and they find out that the only two that passed the exam are Tia and Naga. And like at that point, Naga is like freaking enraged. She's so tired of this and everything. And she's finally like, I don't want to be a teacher anymore. I don't want to do any of this stuff. And she becomes kind of despondent. But as time goes by, her and Tia become like best friends forever and inseparable and whatnot. And Tia's able to help her kind of like find purpose in life, which is like taking care of Tia and also becoming stronger and stronger. After all this revelry, we're like, hey, you doing okay? You kind of zoned out there for a minute. That's right. I was like, oh, so she didn't tell any of that to us, it seems. And she's like, yeah, as long as I have you, teacher, to be there with me, and along with Tia, I'll be okay. And I just need some extra care and love when the exam's are around, because it causes like my PTSD to step up. And we're like, yeah, we're going to be there for you. So then we hug it out and cuddle and we comfort her by like rubbing her back and whatnot, which wraps up her Bond story, which is super sweet. Lastly, we got Tia's Bond story, which is a little less dark and sad than Naga's. So one day at school, Tia and Naga have to fill out some sort of like ambition paperwork, like what do they want to do when they grow up or whatever. And Tia doesn't know what she wants to do. So she asks Naga if she can see her paperwork to see what's going on. And Naga correctly calls her out for wanting to just copy what Naga put. And so she says, no, you got to figure it out on your own. And you know who can help you? The commanders, of course. So we get brought over to the commander. And Tia's like, all right, this sounds good. I like animals, I like food, and I like you. So maybe we can find a job that involves one of those things. And we're like, all right, sounds good. So day one, we take her to the maid cafe. She loves it here. She loves the dessert. She comes here all the time. She does a really good job being like a maid until the desserts come out, and then she loses it. She like eats some desserts. She messes some up because she wants to eat more. She wants to take pictures with all the desserts and everything. So being a maid and we're done with that. Day two, animal training. So we take her over to Happy Zoo, and Biscuit's like, hey, you can help me with the dogs. That sounds good. And we meet Max again. He's like the head dog. And, things seem to be going well. Tia's getting along with all the animals. She's having a great time. But then she starts, like, really fucking up here as well. She, like, puts Max on a high thing because she figured dogs like being high up. And then she does some other kind of, like, wackadoo stuff with, like, Leona's lions and stuff. And we're like, hey, our bad. We never really asked, like, you said you liked animals, but do you like all animals or specific animals? And she's like, I like reptiles. And we're like, oh, there's no reptiles here, unfortunately, at Happy Zoo. So this isn't going to work out at all well either. So day three, it's time to hit the last thing. So the last thing she really likes is us. So what can she do to help us out? She can be our secretary. So we try to train her into being our secretary. First, we're like, hey, we need breakfast so that we can focus on our tasks. And she's like, got it. And then like hours later, she comes back with a bunch of desserts, and it makes us eat so much that we feel sick. And then it's like, all right, cool. Next up, I got to counsel some Nikkes. So like Anchor comes by to get some counseling time, some bonding time. And then Tia's like, all right. And she like sits down and starts taking notes. And we're like, no, this is like between me and Anchor. You should not be here. And then there's like a whole thing about that. And then she gets super upset because we have to like kick her out so we can actually work with Anchor. And then we kick her out, and then we come back and we see that she's gone. So we assume she's at school, but then she's like, "No, I'm here still." And then we have a discussion about her job and about doing stuff and about her place. And she feels a little bit better, but then she leaves and heads back to school. Once there, Naga gives her a pep talk. And then finally, Tia's like, "I have an idea of what I'm going to do." And she writes down N/A, which is like not applicable. And Naga's like, "Hold on, sweetie, let me help you with that." She just writes down undecided instead. And then she still refuses to tell Tia what she for herself. And then Naga like thinks back about what she wrote, and she pretty much wrote, "I'll just do whatever the school wants me to do." So it's the same fucking thing. But then Tia gets like, Naga doesn't tell Tia that. She's like, some girls, girls got to keep some secrets. But then they decide they're going to go shopping and get sweets or something or whatever. So, and that wraps up her Bond story. And that wraps up this event and such. And so join us again next week for campaign level 22, where we find out what happened to the Ark, right, based on the last week's video. And then again, after that, for the next event. So go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.